Hockley's son, I don't think his crew had the greatest performance. It just piles on to this entire ref crew that the NFL currently has to being the worst officiating crew probably in the history of any sport.
Without a doubt.
Any genre. You get a beer pong ref at a local college party, that kid's going to know the rules better than these NFL refs seem to do. If you get a review in a flip cup game, that thing's going to be reviewed better than what the NFL is currently being reviewed at. Billions and billions and billions of dollars are generated by this league, and they can't figure out how the Foot Locker dudes in the middle of it all can regulate it in a proper fashion. At some point, that is going to really cost people games. It already is.
Yeah.
But since it's early in the season, it's not as magnified. We got calls being blown on national television games. Usually in the past, the terrible calls would be snuck in a 1 o'clock game that nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. Only maybe regionally people would be upset. Like, oh, this happened to us, this happened to us. But now in highlight, spotlight, primetime games, rules are just being completely blown. Not only on the field, but in review. In the Chiefs game, they called a pass interference against Travis Kelce, who was completely tackled in the middle of it. Now, granted, do I like seeing the Chiefs lose? I think it's interesting. Do I like seeing the Texans win? No, because I'm picking the Colts, whatever. But in this particular situation, there's a pass interference late in the game. Patrick Mahomes threw it deep to the left corner. The only wide receiver in the thought ran a post in. They threw the flag, pass interference against the guy guarding Travis Kelce. He tackled him, clearly tackled him. They make the call. Sean Hockley makes the call to the camera. They move the ball all the way up to the spot of the foul. First down, Kansas City Chiefs. Without a challenge flag being thrown, after the offensive line is already set, defensive line is already set, after the murmuring in the crowd of what the hell's going on, they huddle. The refs huddle on the side, and there is an obvious gesture to the ear one of the refs does, to like his little pop star microphone ear where somebody's talking into his ear. He obviously goes like this. Then he goes to Sean Hockley and goes, I don't think it's pass interference because the ball didn't go to Travis Kelce. They go, okay, actually, not pass interference because the ball was not thrown to the guy that was being interfered with. It didn't happen until the ball left the ground or left the thrower's hand. So then he marched the ball back. No other explanation, no challenge. And the optics of that ref going to his ear and then telling him something and then them changing the rule is bad.
Terrible.
Optically, that is very bad. Could he have been talking to somebody else on the field? Potentially, but the way it looks on television, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not going to sit well, especially because pass interference has been such a highly talked about item of the rules these days. These refs aren't going to get better. They're only going to get worse. And I almost feel like it's on purpose. You watched that Jets-Cowboys game yesterday. It was just a flag fest. Flag this, flag that, flag, flaggy flag. That's all it was. Because the refs have no idea anymore. They're just throwing it because they think something's a call. Oh, this is this. We'll figure it out in review. Wrong. The reviews have been worse than everything else. Alberto Riveron is like the blind leading the blind at this point. And then they go at NFL officiating where they release videos of Alberto Riveron explaining things that happen. The only thing he's explaining are the things that we're not talking about. You have yet to see him one time come out on that NFL officiating Twitter account and say, well, we didn't turn over that pass interference, not because it was blatantly obvious and we got it wrong, but because we're just fornicating it all up every single time we can. Dan Orlovsky said this morning on Get Up, he said that everybody thought just a few years ago after Dr. Will Smith came out, Dr. Will Smith from South Africa, by the way.
Yep, tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Everybody thought CTE concussions was going to be what ended football. They're like, well, now those rich suburban moms aren't going to let their kids play. That's going to kill the NFL. CTE, the studies of the future, is going to affect the way players play. It's going to change the rules. It's no longer going to be real football anymore. Dan Orlovsky said that's not the case. It's going to be the officiating. The officiating takes the flow of the game out. It makes it almost unwatchable at times. And I don't think refs of the past have gotten enough credit. I don't think we appreciated the Gene Sterators.
Definitely not.
Who is a field general, who could command a game in beautiful fashion, whether it's off conversations that are happening in between plays with guys. Hey, guys, like you're holding him, obviously. You need to stop doing that or we're going to call something. Little side conversations that are happening like that to prevent cluster truck situations of happening in the future. John Perry, who's with Monday Night Football now, he used to have those types of things. Ed Hockley retires. Why isn't Ed Hockley what Alberto is right now? Why is Ed Hockley, who's been the head of the ref union for a long time, why is he not the Alberto Riveron? I would assume cash is probably the reason. The NFL needs to just break one of these guys off and say, hey, Dean Blandino, hey, Gene Steratore, hey, Mike Pereira, hey, John Perry, hey, Ed Hockley, I know you want to retire, and the other guys, I know you want to do TV. We need you to come save the officiating for our game. Because the officials are the voice of the game. They're literally the ones speaking for the league. Whenever they say something, this holding call is something we don't do here. That is beneath this personal foul is below what they are the voice of the league in the game. So it makes me think that almost New York could be involved with this whole thing, which I don't see how the NFL would want their officials to be garbage. But it feels like something has to change, and the silence is deafening from Roger Goodell on this entire thing. You would think at some point he would already came out, but they just stink week in and week out. We've been hammering Alberto Riveron for a long time. Bad leader of men, obviously. Whenever your entire crew stinks, I mean, I'm assuming there's a couple good refs out there. I think John Hussey's a good ref. He was there last night for the Steelers-Chargers. I think he's a good dude. There's a Clete Blakeman, a guy who's...
He's doing tonight's game.
He's a good ref. He handles things well. And it's, by the way, it's not just the refs in the way you make your calls. It's the conversations you have with coaches, the conversations you have with players. You're almost like a politician out there. Like, hey, we've been getting complaints that you've been holding, you've been doing this, we need to change that before we can do it. You kind of you're regulating the game more than just throwing flags. And you also have to have personality. You can't be scared to death. But at some point, Goodell has to come out and be like, yo, Alberto, all your guys stink, aside from a couple. Something's got to give here. We're going to need a new leader. You're going to have to get the hell out. And I think the world would applaud for the first time. Roger Goodell only gets applauded whenever he's surrounded by firemen, children, cops. That's the only time he gets applauded, when they send him out into public. I think for the first time he would get applauded by the public if he said, hey, listen, Alberto, you're ruining the game. Get the hell out.